Good. The adoption of the agenda, is there any additions or deletions?
Move for acceptance of the agenda as presented.
Is there,
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. I'd like us to pause to seek guidance, please. Okay. We'll have the reading of the mission statement. To provide, promote, or facilitate municipal services that meet the community needs by preserving, supporting, and enhancing quality of life for all. On the agenda is the Clam Harvesters Association Rebuilding Clam Industry in Annapolis Basin. And it's, Kevin, what is your last name? Oh, it's Ken. Oh, I thought it was Kevin. I'm sorry. Ken Weir and Terry Weir. Wilkins. I knew that. I was going to say you're Marilyn's brother. Sorry. It's because it's not written down, I get all messed up. Could someone move for them to come forward, please?
So moved.
Is there a seconder? Seconder. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Come up to the table, guys.
Okay, my name is Ken Ware and Terry Wilkins. We're part of the CHA2 Clam Harvesters Association. We're co-chairs. We don't got a president, vice president. We merged Digby and Annapolis probably about 5 or 6 years ago, and it was one of the major problems between the clam harvesters for years. So we took care of that problem. We've made it a fair shake for both sides. Digby and Annapolis have a fair say, so we're one association now. So a big step for us. And the last 10 years, we've been trying to get this management plan up and running, and the government spent I don't know how many thousands of dollars on it, and we come up with this one. Before, we went too big too fast, and the government couldn't keep up to us. So now we broke it down to 3 things per year, and the next 3 years we have a plan. So the first 3 years, you can click the next slide over there. We want to bring back the resource in the Annapolis Basin, increase the livelihoods, and like I say, right now it's an up and down industry. Like clams come back for 3-4 years. Everybody comes back in the industry, dig us out, and then we have another 4 years of bad stuff, like hard times and whatever. That's why I had to move it west and all this stuff. So now we're going to try to make sustainability in the industry. We're going to try to put, so far this year, we put a 2-inch size limit on it, and all that stuff, and we'll talk about this later. And right now, we're going for biomass. We're going to bring back the biomass and stock enhancement. We're doing that we already done that for the last 5-6 years, but DFO always give us a hard time in doing it and all this stuff, so finally they come to the things. We increased the size limit because we always wanted 1.5 inches and under, and DFO said, well, you guys put clams on the beach, you'll be digging them out the next year, so what's the sense of doing it? But we did it that way because every time you put a biomass of clams there, they spawn, and they bring in more clams, and it's just like they say, it's just like starting a new neighborhood. Somebody moves in and then just increase the biomass of the whole beach, and we've done that twice so far into Smith's Cove, and now we brought that beach back, so we got seed to deal with down there. So we're going to increase the biomass, stock enhancement. That's how we're going to do it. We're going to do it in the spring. We're going to do it 3 times a year, and we got 2 beaches picked out for this year. We got Bear River and the Joggins, the beach they just opened up this year. It just got pounded.
Valley, they opened up there this year.
They just pounded the guts out of it, and we wanted to have enhancement and all this stuff. But we didn't have it in place in time anyway, so we're going to rebuild that stock this year, and we're going to do the Bear River up in along the river and all that. So we picked 2 beaches for enhancement. Like I say, once you increase habitat and then sustainable livelihoods and governance, and that's what we're bringing all the government people together. We're bringing Environment Canada, Canadian Food Inspection Agency, DFO. We're bringing, hopefully, with Annapolis municipalities always on board. We want to bring you guys. We went to Bear River First Nation. We got a recommendation from them fellows too. And like we're building up the alliance this time because once you go to a meeting, it's a lot easier to talk to everybody in one room instead of going for 3 different kind of meetings. So we're bringing everybody together. That's why we're doing this to you guys, because we want to have a member of you guys come and join us too, because you guys put a lot of money in all this stuff, and clean water and everything's good for everybody. So, and then we based the recognition in the Annapolis Basin, part of Micmac traditional territory of Bear River First Nations, and they provided us with a written approval. They recognized us, we recognize them guys, so we want to work together. And so far, we got their things, and like I say, it all goes together. You bring back the biomass. We increased marketing this year. We're dealing with people in Halifax and a few other places, and Arthur's involved with that. And we're dealing with people down in Yarmouth, so we got a better price this year. We got $1.65, and we've been dealing with $1 a pound for the last 20 years. So we can bring back the price of the clams and make it higher, then it makes it more better for everybody. We won't have to dig so much to make the same amount of money.
And that was 4 people that were going down from Digby to Yarmouth, and we got to, like, take turns on going down. And I mean, like, just 4 people changed the history of the pricing that we were getting for our clams, because they were ripping us off hard. I mean, they were just giving us like a foreign commodity kind of a deal, whether it's just cheap labor. So, I mean, to us, it was just totally unreal. I mean, like, well, and clams, it's not something, I mean, like, clams in the Annapolis Basin, they could be worth somewhere between 5 and 10 million. I mean, like, they've been recorded I think in the 70s, somewhere between 3 and 4 million pounds recorded landings in the run of a summer. I mean, like, there's been a lot of speculation onto it, and a lot of different numbers that they put down. They put us down as little as $100,000 worth in the run of a year, and they're worth a lot more than that. And each beach is worth at least that much if it's done properly. So, I mean, like, it's a very good resource. And the Digby clam, I mean, like, we've done with Wanda Fantassel and the clam base that we have for Nova Scotia Tourism, I believe it is, and through Moosehead Travels and these organizations, through the last 6 years, we've had clam bakes, and we would take people from all over the world, like on average about maybe 15 people, and we'd take them out on the beaches and show them how to dig clams. I mean, I would show them how to dig clams. By the time they were done, they actually knew how to dig them, and these were the most fun times that they would have. And then we would come up from digging clams, and they'd be all hungry, and say, well, we got a nice big table set out, like these, well, bigger than these here, probably a couple of these set out, all geared up with steamed clams and things to go with it, sandwiches for people that don't like shellfish. And I would go up to my truck, and I would grab a hold of my wheelbarrow and load it up with a guitar, some music apparatus, and come down and start setting up, and they'd look at me, and this is the second reason why they call me the clammer, right? So they said that out of all the ones, they were the most recommended for the most enjoyable. So.
That's at lobster, scallop, and all that too. They pick clam because they can go on the beach and they can participate. Right, clam is the best thing in the world for families and everything else, and that's why we're doing this, to try to, like, say, Dan, the thing, we're going to even do water quality testing and stuff too, because more beaches opens up, it's better for everybody. We make more money, it's better for tourists, it's good for everybody. So that's like safe biomass, affects Martin. It goes back and forth that way there, and like I say, in this 3-year plan, we're going to deal with all prices of this. We're dealing with the governments, we're dealing with the habitat, market, and biomass. So if we can bring all 4 of these back, there's 265 licenses in our zone right now, and roughly is only probably about 75 to 100 being used. And if we can bring back that many more jobs, that increases, like fish plant workers, drivers, shockers, packers. Like I say, we can bring a lot of jobs back and just clam it. And we got a renewable resource, not like the fishing industry of fish. You can throw fish in the water, they all swim away. We can take clams and replant them, and they grow good. And I can't see any downfalls in it so far, but we're finally getting organized as a clam diggers association, and I think we got all the things lining up this time. Like last time we did too much too fast, government couldn't keep up, all the policies, and like paperwork was just too much. I couldn't do it all, and I was going out west and stuff, so it all broke down. But I think we're at a good time right now because the price is up. People in Halifax, they want to do, like, they tag fish and stuff, and they got a number they put on your clams. You can price it in on a computer, and it shows the clam digger where he dug them, the people who dug them, the day they dug them. Like, they want the fresh product, and that's what we can produce. And like, we're government approved, like Canadian Food, CFIA, and Environment Canada. We got a product out there that's certified from the government. Like, it's all good stuff, right? So it's good down the line. So that's one there it is.
We've had 2 chefs with the clam bakes as well, and they agreed with us that the clams in the Annapolis Basin are some of the best in the world. So, and I had clams from even just different areas in Nova Scotia, and I can't find anything that tastes anywhere near as good as the clams that come out of the Annapolis Basin.
We sold clams in Yarmouth, and people come to Yarmouth in that plant where we sold it, buy our clams, and there's tons of clams in Yarmouth, but they come by Digby clams. We got a hard shell, and they're the most tasty clams in the world. So we got a good product to like promote. So we can get going. We can create jobs, and like I said, good for everybody. And that's what we're going to do this year. We're going to, We're gonna start reseeding the beaches, we gotta bring back the stock, and then after that, we're gonna go to beach rotation and size limits we dealt with this year. We went from 1 3/4 to a 2-inch size limit. So just having them clams left on the beach is gonna increase the biomass on the beaches, so. I think we're making a lot of smart moves, but this is what we need, all this, like, I don't know what we're even gonna call ourselves yet. We call ourselves so many different names, but when we sit at a table, we could all suggest things, because we're new at this too. Like, we know a lot about the beaches and all that stuff, but it comes to government and all that stuff, that's where we're a little slack, and that's why we need you guys' guidance, I guess you wanna call it, for moving ahead and all this stuff. And that's where we're gonna start water quality testing. That's one of our important things. Every year, we've been losing a beach a year for the last 5 years, and it's so easy to shut down a beach, but it's so hard to reopen a beach, because I think it needs 1 to 3 tests to open up. It could take 1 year to shut the beach down. It could take up to 6 to 8 years to reopen the beach, and that's one of our major problems. And that's why we partnership up with CARP, and they do a lot of water quality testing, and they're certified for Environment Canada, so they're a really important partner, and they're on board with us too. So, and that's another thing. We're going to have a workshop coming up soon, and we're going to invite all these people. All the government people's going to be there, and we're going to have like people from us, me and Terry. We've been on the beach. We know our beaches, so we're going to inform all the people what's going on. And like I think they're going to go pinpoint pollution sources, and they've never done that before. So if they start doing that, we can fix where the pollution is coming from, and then open the beaches up. Like everybody, like say, it's good for the horse and it's good for us. So.
And in the last couple of years, there's a lot of seed that's starting to land on the inshore beaches in the Annapolis Basin, which is a very good thing, because now we can take these clams and move them offshore. Like say in Smith Cove, for example, I mean, like there's some spots that you could take a numeric count of the clams that was there, and some spots there'd be 300, 400, 500 to a square foot. So I mean, like these little teeny tiny clams this big, right? I mean, like they're there, and they've survived. A lot of the spat landed in 2014. It is now over a year that it's been there, and it's still surviving, still growing, and a lot of it has moved offshore. But we take a fair amount and take a bunch of diggers and move a pile of this offshore. Where the farther offshore you can take it, the faster it grows, because it's in the water longer, and it's in the mud, which in turn it can push itself out. You know, it grows faster because it doesn't have the gravel and grit and sand that it has to push against the shell, because the calcium, or it's like the shell is a calcium based or whatever, and it'll eat up a lot of the energy by being in the sand, where if it's in the mud, it doesn't take as much energy to shove into its shell, so it grows faster, and it's probably a healthier clam.
That's what we've been doing for the last probably, 6 years. And so far, everything we've done, and another problem we got in the Annapolis Basin is from the tidal power plant, probably roughly from the base on, there's roughly about that much in mud sediment, and that's destroyed our offset. We had rootstock offshore beds, completely all gone. They've been gone since the 80s. And that mud and the sediment keeps going back and forth in the upper basin, so we're going to try to concentrate all our enhancement work and receding on the lower basin, because the upper basin, we're still got clams dying off, probably about a 95% mortality rate on clams because of the tidal power, and like we live to adjust it, and we're trying to deal with it as best we can. But in our lower basin, from like say at Cornwallis Park and down, our beaches the seeds growing, and we're trying to transport it. It's working pretty good. So if we can bring back the lower part of the basin, then we can try Thorns Cove and By the Weir and all them places. But right now, we're going to concentrate on the lower half of the basin.
Because we have the potential of probably 5 to 10 million pounds of clams, these soft shell clams in the shell. I mean, like whatever that would produce in a monetary value. That's every year that could be happening. But it's just that we dig clams for a living. We're not rocket scientists. We don't have a big amount of lawyers in back of us to back us up to be able to try to acquire things. And I mean, if we have so many roadblocks that's been put in front of us, it's just totally unreal.
Keep going.
Well, we're still standing. We're
That's
bent over.
And the sustainability and our approved prices, like I say, from this year here for this week, and 2 other guys, we're going from Digby to Yarmouth and trucking our clams down. We went from $1 a pound to $1.65. That's 65% increase. From us, just putting a little energy into it. And now there's people in Halifax looking to buy clams in markets and putting them in bars. Like they got mussels and everything. Now they're going to try to promote clams, and if they do, that's gonna create a whole new market, and there's gonna be a bigger demand for clams and a higher price, so that's why we're looking at all aspects. Last time, we just looked in rebuilding stocks and tried to go with that, but we just got a narrow-minded and stuff. Now we looked at it back, we had 10 years to look at it and to do this stuff, so now this is what we come up with, so. And that's that traceability fish project, where they trace our fish right back to us, and they know the exact date they were clammed, the exact place where they from. That's what people want to hear nowadays.
So this is the dude that dug it.
Yeah,
Right.
and like I say, they got a little picture of me staying there, say, hi, my name's Tony, I've been clams for 40-some years, and I dig here, and it's approved area, blah, blah, blah. That's what people want to hear, right? So that's the other thing, and it's gonna increase the price too, probably from us, to $1.65, maybe to $3 to $4 a pound, so it's all interesting
Well, they
stuff.
go $5.49 a pound. I mean, like, for years, I mean, they was giving the clammers $1 a pound, and yet you look, you go to Sobeys, or you go to the Superstore, and they're $4.49 and $5.49 a pound. I mean, like, where's the extra? I mean, like, who's getting ripped off for that? Because the digger's the one that digs in. And that's the feller that's losing the ability to build a house, or to buy a truck, or to go get half-decent groceries, or to put half-decent shoes on a feller's feet, and stand up tall and proud and say, look, I'm a Canadian, I'm a Maritimer. I work hard for my money, and I'm proud of it. I'm proud to be here, you know? It's a good thing.
And Arthur been talking to people out in, I think in Ontario, and they got some kind of plan there. If we raise any money, like up to $2,500, they're gonna match it, so, for the Water Protection Agency and all that stuff, so we're even looking into fundraising, trying to create money to put this, because right now, Goat Island's been shut down for the last 5 years, and right now, they asking the clamor to come up with money to reopen these beaches, and it can get costly. You can get up to $1,000 trying to get a beach opened up. And we haven't had no money to do it. Beaver First Nation chipped in one time, and they got it open for us, but I think it was only a month or so, and they shut it back down because of bad tests, but the bird population was there then, but it's moved on since then, or whatever, but if we come up with money and stuff, we can even get money to test our own beaches to reopen. That's the biggest problem. We just can't come up with like Environment Canada. We just was down a meeting in Yarmouth or whatever. There's a place on the South Shore now, it's probably about a 40-50 mile beach, and it's all shut down now because the Environment Canada can't come up with the money to test it. So it put probably roughly 15 people out of work, and they're not even going to test it till next spring. So what they have for unemployment, I think Buddy only had about $5,000-6,000 unemployment. Now he's done for this year, so I don't know how he's going to even survive off that kind of thing or whatever. But that's what I see as a wake-up call for us. So if we can get ahead of this water quality stuff, then we won't have the problem. Like the sewer treatment plants, that killed us in the past, but that's all fixed. Let's move ahead of that now. Let's go for water testing and stuff. And get these beaches opened up and make great jobs. Like there's 265 licenses and they're being wasted right now. Like I say, I don't want to go back to West again. I want to stay in my hometown and live here with my family, right? So and that's why I'm involved in this again too, because I don't want to go back to West. So I guess. And that's what we do. We come back to the government, renewed our membership. We've got a board organizing now. That's what we're doing right here. We're getting a good foundation for once, so we can build up before, because before we had a shaky foundation, we needed this person to attend, and it wasn't around and stuff, so we didn't do I didn't do our homework like this, I guess, so now we're doing it now, and hopefully we can come ahead of the game for once, and that's what we need you guys for, your governance, and hopefully you're, like I say,
Support.
stuff. Yeah, support. In Annapolis Basin, create opportunities for tourism, that we're already doing that with Terry and Wanda and stuff, and that can only get bigger. Providing access through community, through recreational diggers and stuff, we promote all that stuff, because we're only at 100 clams per person right now, but if we can bring our resource back, we can put maybe 200 clams per person, and more people on the beach, that's what we want to see, because I've grown up on the beach. Everybody loves the beach. Let's have the beach for everybody, not let's lease them and give them to one big company and let them create all the money for just one person. Let's spread the wealth in the community. That's what I'm talking. So that's what it is, local food security. We got the best food in the world, and it's tasteless food. Let's promote it. Chefs are recognizing us now. Like I can only see good things coming up for the clam industry.
The rich man will put his money in the bank, whereas a bunch of poor men with the exact same amount of money, they're going to spend that in the local community. And instead of $1 million in the bank, it'll probably be about $7 million in the community because they pass it around. I mean, like it's.
And that's where we started with Beaver First Nations. And this thing what we seen with government was going on, they were leasing this land out, and like me and Terry, we sat back and said, well, hold on, the DFO says Beaver got the Native people has a right, we only got a privilege, and they're giving their lands away without even asking these guys, and that's why we spoke up for Beaver for the last, how many years, 10 years?
Trying to.
And it's just unreal how the government just steps over top people to get what they want for these big companies and stuff, and that's why we've been fighting, we've been prosecuting everything over the years, me and Terry, but we love our job, and we love doing what it, like, we're both fourth generation, third generation clammers. I don't wanna go anywhere, I love my job, and I wanna fight for it, right, so.
It's hard for me to believe how anybody could lease land that doesn't own, that they don't own, that doesn't belong to them. How's that possible?
They didn't lease them for 1 year, they leased them for 10-year leases, and when they give these leases, there was no size limit or nothing, so that plant got the right to take clams this big
Yeah,
and hot, dip it, and just clean them beaches, and that's what they're doing now to open areas, that's why.
Because it's classified under an aquaculture lease, which means that you don't have to have a season, you don't have to have a size limit, you don't have to hire licensed diggers. I mean, they may try to make it may look a little different, or it may have been massaged a little bit different, but it still has, it's not law, it's just, there's a word for it, I just can't think of it, I lied, it's a lot of words. There's a process that's there. It's just it's policy. I mean, policy isn't law, right? It's just a regular thing that we usually go. But well, so we're going to do something different today, kind of deal. But and that can pull you right out of it. It's something that should have, like you always used to have, right? So.
Well, that's why we don't want to attack this company no more. We're going around this company now. We're creating our own new markets and all this stuff. Like, we need companies. We need more competition. So we don't want to destroy this company. But this company shouldn't have the right to do what they want with us. Like, we should have a right of anything, because we're not even, we don't even have labor laws to protect us. I've been fired 3 times from that company. And I mean, when I got fired from that company, he was the only company, I was out of a job. So I spoke up for the clam diggers, and I got prosecuted for it. But I went west and did what I had to do. But I got education to do that. But a lot of guys like Terry and all my relatives, they didn't. My father, matter of fact, can't read and write, so he's done if he ever went against this company. So this company got too much control over the clammers, but we don't want to fight this company anymore. We don't want to do none of this, so we're doing this route about it. We're going to get all the stuff we need for open areas. The closed areas, we want that retested and reopened in the future, but I'm not attacking this company. We want to do the route. We're making our own, like our markets. We're going through all the communities. We want community support, and that's why I said, we went down to the States a few years back, and they had community-based management, and I said, man, I'd love to have this in Canada, but that's what I've been trying to promote for the last 10 years, but it's just the government was promoting just one company, and that ain't the way to go, and we've seen that's not the way to go, so I think even the government's seen that's the way not to go, so now we're kind of trying to build a community-based management. It supports, it's the community which supports it, and that's where the money goes back to the community, and that's what I've been driving for, but I don't know, we're still here, and this is
It's a hard road, but we are, like I said before, we are still standing. I mean, we're stubborn. I mean, we're Nova Scotians. We're Nova Scotians, and we're one of the most stubborn people there are in the world. So,
keep moving on, yes. And that's where the project lives in research, ongoing evaluation of all aspects, starting with the baseline data and biomass. That's all got to do with CARP. They're the ones that are going to do this. And water quality, market, organization, development. Then you got collaboration and research project on water quality, governance. And that's where, in government right now, there's so much gray matter in water quality. That's where, I think there's even Arthur said there's somebody from a university doing a project just on it. It's just, you talk to Environment Canada, they talk to CFI, it's almost like they never get in the same room together because they like passing the buck on each other, and that's just been holding us back for years or whatever, but I think we're going to get that addressed with all this, with our new board or whatever. And addressing research question related to Environment Canada and water quality, like when I first got here, I think they tested the water once every 3 years, and it took 9 years to open up one beach. And it took 1 year to shut it down. I said, well, actually, I'm going to be able to like a livelihood in about 5 or 10 years down the road, and that's what we've been fighting and banging our heads against it. They changed the policies 2 or 3 times, but we just can't fight the policy. The thing we need is water quality testing, and that's where the money comes up, and maybe we can raise money, or and like suggested in the last plan where we made up, the diggers contribute a penny per pound, and the buyers are supposed to match a penny per pound, and that goes with water quality. Like that will happen maybe after the 3-year thing, but they try to shove down us on the first. And you got a decoration company is not going to match a penny per pound, and they don't want nothing to do because they want all the beaches shut down and leased out. So 75% of the diggers dig for this big company, so that plan gets shoved down or whatever. But we're going to address that in the future, whatever. But penny per pound sounds pretty good because we're up to $1.65. And if we put a penny per pound, and an average digger digs between 10 to 12 to 15,000 per pound for each diggers, and that can add up quite a bit of money for water quality. So that almost may eliminate itself down in the future. But we're taking baby steps this time. Right now, we're going to reseed. We're going to try to put the 2-inch size limit on, and then a few things like water quality and stuff is going to be talked about down the road or whatever. But we're going to go slow this time. We did too much fast last time, so we're going to take baby steps this time. This is our 1 year plan right now. Stock transfer, enhancement on 2 beaches, Bear River and Jog, and the 2-inch size of them. I think that's going to be a key too. And then we even cut back the season. This is October 1st here, but we put it back to this November. It's really supposed to be December, but I figured another month without being pounded beaches is more clams on the beach. And then habitat, initial water quality testing, that's a big thing we got to get going. And the public awareness campaign on water quality, we're going to do that. Workshop on water quality, that's coming up. And then marketing, we're already hooking in that too. So a lot of the stuff's on this we're already doing. So developing new markets in Nova Scotia, we already started that. Canadian markets out west, we're working on that right now. In partnership with ECA, that's the guys that with the tag and all that, the clams and stuff. And then bring public awareness to all this. And then that pilot traceability program, that's with the fish tags and all that. So that I think that's going to be a big thing. It's going to draw the price up too. And then the governments, that's where you guys come in, the board membership development, create an advisory committee, and meet with federal and provincial governments and all that stuff. See, Annapolis is already on board, and they know what we can do, and I think it's going to help everybody, because clean water is good for everybody. I don't know anybody, except for that innovative fishery, because they want closed beaches, but anybody you say to a person, clean water, you don't want it, and they just say, yeah, I want it. So how can you argue against clean water? It's good for everybody. And if you start opening more beaches, the tourism, like we said down in the future, maybe the Smith Cove Trailer Park, the tourists are down there eating them clams anyway. They're going down every day. If we get that beach opened up, have that just for tourists alone, we could reseed that beach, and we'd have a size limit and limit on it, and all the tourists go down there and eat clams for free. Now, that would bring people in around here like droves, I think, but we can do that, and it's easy to do, but we just need to get going on this stuff, and we need, like I said, we need you guys' support and all this stuff on it. And that's where we are here. We're trying to get all this stuff. In this year or two, then we're going to get a little more serious. We're going to start trying the beach rotation. We got 2 beaches in rotation now. We got Queen Anne's Marsh and Coney Road, but the Queen Anne's Marsh is on the north side, and it's completely died off except for the high water. There's a little bit of seed coming back. But the Coney Road on this side, on our side, and Digby side or whatever, I don't know where the clams come from, and I don't know what it is, but that's where we got our seed from a few years ago. It's one of our best beaches in the world. If we could have 5 beaches like that, everybody in the clam industry could make a feasible living for everybody. We could be looking at $150 a day, 6 days a week, and you got a 6-month season, 7-month season, you can make quite a bit of money, and you wouldn't have to move it west. And then you got to go new local and regional markets. That's like kind of dicey right now, but I think that it can come around. And that traceability program, they want to know where your clams come from, because people do not want to eat closed area clams, and I don't blame it. You're paying good money. You want to make sure you got a fresh product on the table, and I agree with that 100%. And then that innovation, that Levy program, that's that penny per pound and stuff. But last year, or the last time we tried it right off the start, this just didn't work, because it was just, we was down to $1 a pound, and they just looked at it like I'm barely making $8,000 to $10,000 a year. I don't want to pay money just to go clam, and so now we got the price up. Maybe it's not a problem as much as it was before, but this is only year 2, and then year 3 we just step it up a little bit more. We're going to do reseed every year, and then then we're going to do a stock assessment of what worked, what didn't work, and that's when we're going to have all these guys around the table, and we're going to look at solutions that fix it. We were going to make mistakes. Maybe clams don't grow in certain areas. Maybe they do. But that's what we got to do in this 3-year plan or whatever. And then continue water quality. We need that. That's one of our key things is water quality, and we're going to have that. The market development, that's going, and like I say, it's just going to keep doing what we keep doing. And once we only need roughly, like I say, a 6-beach rotation would be awesome for our industry, and then we can make pretty good money on all of it. And like I say, the money comes back. All the clammers are making money instead of one big company. The money's going to come back to this community, and like I say, this community needs jobs. I don't know about you guys, but I tried to get a job around here. I couldn't find anything anywhere, so I'm still up for a job finding, but we need jobs. And like I say, for us, a clam digger gets a license. Right now, they're going for $1,500. You buy a hack bucket and boots, and you're in the industry as a clam digger. You don't need all this stuff like the fish dragger and all this stuff, right? So it creates jobs for the people that maybe not well-educated and not a high skill, and they can make a living for the family. They can make good money once we get this thing rolling and all this stuff. But the key thing right now, we need you guys' support, and that's what we're hoping to get, kind of thing, because I can't see anything bad coming out of what we're asking. It's all good.
Yeah, and if we can get, like even if you get some kind of advertisement, like we got clams, right? Like something that you can see on television. You can see all these scallops, all these shrimp and these lobster and all this stuff, and they put it on there, and you're gaining weight just watching TV, right? Kind of deal, right? And to me, there should be, that's seafood, right? There should be clams right in amongst that too, and it's not utilized. It's not utilized Canada-wide either. Then there's people out west that, well, where can we get these clams? We love them, and yet most of the product is sold down through the States, with a little bit that's sold locally around in the Maritimes here. But other than that, like in the restaurants, we're in the summertime, and yet nothing goes out west. It all goes down to the states, right? I mean, to me, like a Canadian market for something is just something that we need to be need to start looking into, and be proud that we can raise it here. It's like a McDonald's French fry kind of deal, right? To me, it just makes sense. I mean, mind you, I'm just a clam digger, and I've been around the industry long enough and tried to represent people in the industry for the last 30 years, and I am so sick and tired of having to fight and scratch for every little tiny way just to survive, and it shouldn't be that way. I mean, like, and we've got Department of Fisheries, we have the CFIA, we have I mean, the mandate for a lot of these government organizations are supposed to be to help the fishermen, and a lot of the times they don't. They put stuff in the way that we wind up. I've come out of so many meetings with such a horrible headache from being at these meetings, and I mean, like, and they look at you like, well, how come you can't do this? And how come you can't do that? We're not. It's above our pay grade kind of deal, right? I mean, like, we can only do so much.
The biggest problem in our industry, too, we go down to meetings in Yarmouth, and it's only an advisory committee, so we get all these good ideas. We're in the beach. We know what's going on in the industry. We tell them, and they take advice, and if they like it, they promote it. But if they don't like it, they throw it in the garbage kind of deal. And, like, sure, that's fine and dandy, but when you got DFO supporting that one big company and all the other companies getting shoved aside, it wasn't fair, and that's all we want was fairly. And I told the buyers, I don't want any extra. I just want a fair going price, what my market value is, and I want my weight. I don't want to be stolen from. I don't want to be taken advantage of. I just want what it's coming to me. And we haven't got it for the last 10 years. The only time you got it when you dug open area, you went to Casey's and there was a scale. They put the clams on the scale, and that was a fair price. But when you work for this company, you go down the beach. I dug 20 pounds or 20 bucks of clams. They go on a trailer truck. They go down to this company, and they let him weigh it up with us not being there. Like, I'm not calling him a thief or nothing, but that's not a fair system. Like, even if he was a potato farmer, you want to know your weights of potatoes before you sell them kind of deal. And it's just fairness, but we didn't get none of that.
This is your product, and this is how much it weighs.
And then you fight against
And
it,
then
you get fired kind of deal. But see, that's why we're promoting the open areas. We don't want to fight against this step company because they're too powerful, and I already dealt with that, and I've fought for them for the last 10 years, and it's a lot of hardship between my family and everybody else. So we're going the open area route. The open area is for everybody, so we're just going to try to promote it and get the best what we can of what we have. Like I say, we already done all this stuff. We went down to our meetings, and we got our board members back in strength. We just need to, like I say, we've done everything we need to do to make this thing work, and we just got to move on now, like I say. And that's all we're asking for is you guys support. And we got, like I say, we got Annapolis on our side, and well, not on our side, just support. We don't need nobody on our side. We just, like, what makes sense, we'll make it work. And if it don't make sense, then the board will say, no, it don't make sense. Let's not hurt the industry. Let's help it. So we ain't going to do bad things to the industry. We just want to do good things. So that's why we're here today, and hopefully we get your support, I guess. So.
Is there any questions? Jimmy?
I have a couple. You mentioned earlier that there's about 265 licenses, but only about 75 or 100 are active. Has there ever been an initiative by the government to buy up some of those dormant licenses so that you can have a healthy industry? Because you said earlier that people jump on the bandwagon when things look real rosy, and they kind of stay long enough to bring it back down. So is there any way of bringing the license holders down to a manageable level?
Well, like I say, all diggers been holding the license for this big buy that maybe the DFO said they'd never come and buy it. They said Greg Kerr. That's why they give us that money for this plan, because we asked for a buy because there's so many licensed harvesters. All right, that's CH2. We got 265. All the other ones got half as much as we got. So we're getting an unfair advantage right off the bat. And like I say, what happened before when we was younger, we wasn't zoned as a CHA2. I could go to Annapolis or I could go to Kempville, I could go to Halifax, I could go to Cole Harbour, but now they're zoned us in here, and then they put the tidal power on us, and then they wiped out half our stocks. Yeah, 3/4. Like, we just been like crapped on for a lot of times right now, and that's why we asked the government. So we got too many licenses to deal with. We're working under half capacity of the basin or less, and we still got all these licenses, and they said we can't even touch it.
So your license is only good for in the basin? You can't harvest in other areas of the province? Just right here?
Yeah, we're zoned right in our own yard. So
Okay. Oh, all right.
we have a chain on us.
Another question pertaining to the water quality testing. Like, from in the past, I remember us being told that the federal government might do it every 2 years or something like that. So if you had a closed beach, you could be a long time trying to get it open again. And And like you said, one bad test will close a beach. But it takes a number of good tests to open it up. So has there been any work with CARP to try to have more active testing to keep the beaches open?
That's what we're working on right now. That's why CARP's getting involved, because, see, their branch from Environment Canada, they're certified to do these tests, and they've
Right.
done it before, so that's why we want to start the regime again. But, see, they got to go baseline and all this stuff, and that's why we're trying to catch up. We wanted this 5 years ago, but now we're just starting to do it now. But CARP is getting involved, and they're wanting, and this workshop's coming up. I'd like to see when you guys come to this, too. That'd be really awesome.
Is the provincial and federal governments helping any with the water quality testing? Are they helping to fund CARP to do the testing?
I think CARP goes through their own initiative for fundraising. I don't think they deal with the
Okay.
kind of thing, so.
Last question I had was, you had an abbreviation up there, EAC partnership. What's EAC?
What was that, Tracy?
It was to deal with a partnership.
I can't remember the abbreviation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Thanks. Okay.
I'm terrible with acronyms too. I feel for you, man.
That's all.
Okay, anyone else have any questions? George?
When you talk about offshore, reseeding offshore, how far do you mean, like low water line?
We go mid to the water line, like say, when you got a beach stay, like it's this wide, like the high water's here, we go from here, that's where you get most nutrition, all the value, and the clams grow faster, and in the mud, they don't have to grow the thick shell like the sand is, so a clam may grow up the shore, may take 2 years, and offshore may take a half a year. So that's what we did, and like say, that's what happens naturally. And I always thought when I was a kid, all the clams come from offshore and work their way in, but he said they start from the rock ball, because that's where all the seed drops, and then they work their way offshore. You ever see a rainstorm? It washes all the clams offshore. Me and Jerry a couple years ago after a big rainstorm, we went on the beach, and we looked down the beach, and we said, holy cats, all these clams are everywhere. But the rain washed them off the sand and just put them in the mud, and that's how they spread offshore or whatever. But since the tidal power come, we had all them big clams offshore that we call it our brood stock, and we lost all our offshore beaches. All our big tide beaches are all gone. Like you may get 2-3 buckets, but years ago we used to get 15-20 buckets a time in only a couple hours, and they're all gone. Tidal power killed it.
Because the siltation is so fine that it smothers what amount of clams that there are offshore, right? I mean, and the farther offshore you go, then the worse it gets. And I mean, like the bigger tides, which used to, I mean, like my dad had gone on to a spot off of Goat Island. There's like a big channel buoy off there, and he used to go offshore there, and 88 clams that he had counted out and put into a basket of clams, and after he washed them up and weighed them off in the factory, because he did it just to seed, and they weighed 38 pounds. So 38 pounds, there was 88 clams. So you do the math, and that's, I mean, they're pretty good-sized clams. So.
Like I said, we got clams around the basin. Like our clams are that big on the big tides. Like we still get them, but nobody around here matches our size or clams or quality of our clams. We get the best clams in the world, and even we got chefs saying that now. So we support the thing. So.
David?
Yeah, the closed beach testing, you would think that the increased economic activity from a beach being open would more than pay for the testing. Did they not think of it that way, or they just want to just give it to you guys? Is there like a larger plan to keep the beaches closed, and they figure this is a good way to do it?
The decoration company is like you ever see Cyril Sneer on TV, that little cartoon? He's like a clam company. He just kills beaches. We call them skinnovators because you don't like say he got the Cherrystone Beach. That was the beach when I first dug there. Like I done a ton of clams. I had 2,300 pounds or more in 1 week digging. Like I used to walk, it was so thick there you could walk on the mud, and you'd have to drive your hack in the ground right now. And then after 10, 15 years of digging and no management, whatever, that beach is almost completely dug off the map. And like I say, and the government gave them awards for it. Like we did more environmental work and protection of the beaches than he ever thought of doing, and the government supports him more than us. It's just I don't know what it is. They're changing now. But when I used to go to meeting, there was Doug Birch from Innovative Fisheries in DFO. They'd have to ask the innovators to pass me a piece of paper, like a government agency asking a company to pass me a piece of paper. I said, there's something wrong going on here or whatever, and that's what I've been battling against. They supported him so hard all these years because he did create a lot of jobs when he first came in here. Right? When he first came in, our beaches were bouncing back. There was roughly 75 people in decoration, and there was another 75 diggers in the open area decoration, and plus there's another 60 guys in open area. So there was a lot of diggers back then. And then since he's got control of it, he's cleaned all these areas. And they got a hot dip machine that dips clams this big. So even our seed's not even protected now through this company. And that's why we're trying to rebuild their open stocks over there.
Hot dip machine?
Yeah, instead of shocking it like a clam, you shock it normal, they hot dip it and then you just peel it.
Okay.
So it makes it faster to get through the small clam, but.
Just stick them in very hot water, and then they take them right out, put them
Just
in
like
cold water.
plucking a chicken or whatever.
And it kills the ribbon around it, but it also just, I mean, like to me, there's a lot of places that won't even buy a clam like that, but I mean, if you have nothing else to buy, no other where to buy from, but.
Well, that's
I mean,
why-
like it's, like you have clams that are, it's almost like, it's promoting an area to be polluted instead of having it cleaned up, because you can decorate it.
This is really interesting, all this. I'm really interested in what you're saying.
Like I say, we've been saying this, like, when they first brought the leases in 10 years ago, the government brought them in, and we had somebody in government told us to put them leases, or they would have put them in without even telling us, and they were supposed to go through all this stuff. That's why we come to municipalities years ago when we tried to fight it, but they already had signed the paper before we even tried to even fight it. So they put 10 years on leases of beaches, and I mean, you're not even allowed to walk on it. You're not allowed to walk on it. They're privatizing these beaches, so the public's off these beaches. And I even got paper from last time where people kicked their family off the beaches. It was Lisa Matasson and her 2 kids down in Cherrystown Beach. They were told to remove from the beach because the kids were at high water mark playing with Tonka toys, but it was a decoration dig, so they had to leave the beach. I said, that's pretty bad when you tell little kids to get off the beach at high water. But beside the point, we don't want to, we went against this company. It's just, we can't fight against them anymore. We don't have the resources and all that. That's why we're doing the open areas. We're trying to get more open areas and bring back the resource for, like I say, for the staters to have. Like, I like to have sustainability once. I like to have an income in 3 years, not just 1 year, and then have 4 bad years. And then it's just, you can't run a household like that. I'm doing it now. Right now I'm 49. I'm going to be 50. And I told my father the other day, I said, I cannot live this lifestyle anymore. It's too much up and down. Like, you get your bills almost paid off, your mortgage start getting down, then 2 years of hardship, and you got to refinance your house and try to hold on what you got. And I can't live that way no more. And like I say, I'm going to try to get this through this time, and then I don't know what the clamming careers. I can't handle all these bad years clamming. I'm getting too old. I'm not coming ahead anymore. And I don't want to go west again and work that 3 years ago.
Another 10, 12 years.
Yeah, like I say, Terry, he got 10 years older than me, so, but I just want to have sustainability for once in my life. Like, I don't need to make millions of dollars per year, but I can make between 15 and 20,000. That's not really much for a lot of people, but I can live off that. And right now, the clammers are not making that right now, and it's a shame. And I've seen us make a lot more than that, but you only have 1 or 2 good years, and then bang, you have hardship for 4 or 5 minutes. You can't do that no more. I ain't into it.
Because in Yarmouth right now, I mean, like we was watching what was happening in the Yarmouth Bar fisheries, the place where we were selling our clams, and their diggers were averaging between 200 and 300 pounds a tide. Now you multiply that by $1.65. That's pretty good wages.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, we could be doing that here in the basin. We used to be able to average 200 and 300 pounds a tide before the installation of the Tidal Power Project. And I mean, like they say, oh no, how could you possibly blame that on that? But I mean, I've looked at a lot of stuff. I've looked at a few things off of the internet, and I manually looked up a whole bunch of stuff back in the 80s once this stuff started happening, trying to find out what possible reason could be why the Annapolis Basin, the clams, that about 80% of them had all died off. But in these areas, it slows the water so that the tide doesn't flow as fast. So you have a bunch of siltation that's in the water that's not taken farther away. It's distributed right then and there in the immediate areas, and the finer siltation, the more clams that are going to wind up being smothered off of it. And it's still ongoing. It's still happening. For the last few years, the tides have been quite a bit bigger. I'm sure in the node of the moon, or whatever they call it, that once the tides start to slacken off and they start getting smaller again, that we may wind up with more siltation of the beaches in the Annapolis Basin again, but maybe, which is worth more. I mean, like something that you can have 5 to 10 million pounds of shell stock that could be anywhere between 20 or 30 $million, and then you multiply it by 7 for the variables that like the offsets and everything that happens around it, or a little like the power that they get out of that generation, the generating station. I mean, to me, it don't make sense.
Now, you said you want us to come aboard. What are you actually asking from the municipality? Do you want a letter of support? I need to know what you're
We'd
asking
like to have,
for.
really, if we need a letter of support for somebody like that, but we like to say, we'd like to have one of you guys as members show there. We only meet once a year anyway, so it's not like it's 10 meetings a year or never, and we'd like to have one of you guys sit on one of our board when we make it.
Okay.
That's pretty much it for
So
now.
letter of support, possibility of a member coming to attend the meeting.
Yep.
You said Annapolis County was a board,
Yep.
so that's what they've agreed to?
Yep. I think Joe treated us with the Martha was talking. I haven't really talked to him. Martha's been talking to him, but he just said, like I say, tonight, I forgot the meeting was even here. We met today for the size limit. We're doing the paperwork there, and he said, you guys got to meet tonight here, so that's why we come here right away. And they're having another meeting, so we just filled in for him.
The letter, would it be to whom it may concern, or do you want it to a specific?
Just to give us some concern, mostly DFO and stuff for some other support, we want community support, like, this is what we call, well, that's what they had down in the state, it was called community-based management, worked really well. So we're just trying to follow suit, like say, they did, and try to make it work for us, kind of deal, so.
Could you send us a little bit on your board? You said it meets once a year, and what your mandate is of the board?
Well, we're just creating it right now, we're just getting it together now, so.
Oh, okay, so all right, you're forming the board?
Yeah, we're forming the board right now.
Okay.
This is also good to have, maybe to have our finger in this in regards to the strategic plan, the reference to beaches. I think this might be timely and important as far as that goes.
So when your board is ready, you can follow
Yeah.
up with us so that we can bring that forward?
Yeah, and like I say, we're gonna contact all the people we've got a hold of, we're gonna tell them what we need, and what we don't need, and all what's going on and stuff. But Martha takes care of most of that for us.
And I have the contacts.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
I can tell you, I know you've been around a long time. I've been there too. And you're right, the clam industry has gone downhill a lot in the last several years. I mean, I can remember, I worked at a clam factory,
Yeah.
right down there where Franklin's is.
Snows?
Well, yeah, I think, it was Henry Lewis's on top. And all the clammers used to come in, and I was getting 17 cents a pound for shock. That was my summer job. It was back in '67, and I'll tell you, you couldn't keep up. The clams were coming in the door, you know.
That's like back in the day.
Yeah, they were looking after 15 or 20 trucks, and all these trucks had, some of them had as high as a dozen diggers that had their clams aboard these regular-sized trucks, so.
That's
I
like saying,
was paid to shop. That was my, I think it was 17 cents a pound we got to shop.
And on average,
That's
on
a
average,
lot.
the average digger between the fellow that was the smallest amount that he could get and the fellow that was the best possible digger in the basin, on average, between all of them, 200 pounds a tide.
Oh, we would go in for 7 in the morning and be there at 5 at night. And then they sometimes ask you to stay later, and it was supposedly 6 days, but often it was 7. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I did that for summer work. And now I don't know if I could hold a chocolate clam at all.
But I think it could be this way again if it was just allowed a little bit. I mean, like we've actually got. I mean, like I've been working with First Nations a little bit, and over the summer, we had a clam that had broken, and it healed itself. Now, I think the CFIA had made some kind of a commitment, or whether it's a commitment or a statement or just whatever's around it, but they was more or less taking a big fit because there was some broken clams in the factory, and making out that, well, once a clam is broken, it's no good, and that is not true, because I have proof that a clam can actually heal itself. I've seen it. I actually took a shell to the last meeting that we had and passed that shell around, the one in Yarmouth that we had with at the meeting place, or the fisheries building in Yarmouth. But I mean, like I passed it around, and I mean, you could actually see where this clam had been broke and healed itself. And I actually ate that clam, and the one that I had, we went through Bear River First Nations. There's a gathering that we have with Frank Muse and a bunch of the other ones, and I usually take a bucket of clams up with me when I go, you know, like to try to help, you know, like to show. And anyway, I had the clam, Cherry Picto had actually taken some photographs of it, like I was holding it in my hand like this, and you can see where the clam is broken. I call it Bentley, right? But I mean, like it's just excellent photography of it. And I put the clam in with the other clams, and it had come out on top. And I said, well, there's Bentley right there. So it had been in the freezer for 2 months, and still it tasted just as good being in the freezer because it was fresh frozen. It was still just as good out of the freezer 2 months later as what it was, and it just tasted just as good as the other clams that were in the bucket of fresh clams that I took. And this clam, now the shells of it live with Frank up in Bear River, and there's photography of it on the internet. So.
Well, again, we thank you for your time. We really appreciate. I'm sure that we will be discussing about a letter of support and see where we can go from there.
And I eat 25 clams, I bet you, for every scallop I eat. And I bet you that's normal in this county. And all you ever hear about is the scallops. That's like our own secret
The
little
clams
plot.
are just as good a quality as this Digby scallop. I mean, like there's actually been people that I've talked to when they were in Europe, and they said that they seen menus that actually had stated famous Digby clams. And when these was the selling point of this high selling, you know, fancy restaurant, I guess you would call it. But I mean, like it was one of the things that made it fancy, right? So. And they've actually there were chefs that come. There were chefs that come here over the last bunch of summers and actually did videos. Vicky Ranini, I think, was one of the chefs' names. And you should have seen the look on his face when he finally dug his first clam and he hauled it out and he looked it up. That was just like $1 million to him. He said, "There, it's all about you guys." Because he's world renowned for being able to, if there's something that he can get, he'd like to be able to go out and do it and get it himself. So, right.
Well, that's the big thing for you
Yeah.
guys.
Thank you.
That was interesting.
You can.
I learned a lot there, man. I like that. I enjoy learning stuff.
So at this time, would you like to discuss a letter of support? Would you like to wait till another meeting?
Put it under new business, but I mean, or we can either put it under new business or we can put it on committee of the whole, either or.
That's what I'm asking. Committee of the whole? And we will put that on committee of the whole? Which will be on the
Excuse me.
Okay, next is council minutes of October 26, 2015. Is there any errors or omissions?
I'll move for acceptance.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. There is no old business or business arising, but I will ask each one.
I have a couple
Oh, no,
questions.
I meant on the agenda.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with George.
Me to we.
I can
We end up giving them any money, or was that a school program?
It wasn't a school program after all, so we didn't.
Oh, we didn't have it in the.
No, because it wasn't a school program, we couldn't, under our policy.
Medibus, are we kind of progressing? Was that coming
You
up
get a
later?
letter.
Is that coming up later?
Well,
Not on the agenda. I think there's discussions between the Medibus and the Nova Scotia Health Authority.
Is that still ongoing?
it's ongoing.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, oh, and the funding for the senior safety, we were going to match up with the town.
We did.
That ended up being 15?
Yes.
15?
Mhm. The town had put 15 in their budget, so we matched.
David,
I'm good.
Ritza.
Okay, Rita Wee was one of mine, but the other one was Welcome to Digby Side. Did you talk to Reg?
Oh, yeah.
That was in the minutes from last time.
Oh, Reg wasn't available when I called him.
Okay. So we still don't know.
You followed up, did you? Sorry.
I called him and left him.
Oh, okay. Sorry. My hearing
That was it for me.
And you're okay? Okay. Next, under new business, provincial releases electricity plan. The province releases. Now, do we want to host or participate in the discussion? And I was sort of thinking that we should host.
I believe Terry's been in discussions with the province on the having the host facility, that they would provide the whatever rental there is for a hall, but we would do the advertising and perhaps coffee or tea or whatever. I haven't checked with Terry. He mentioned it to me during one of our meetings, and I don't know if they've
So we
took him
will-
up.
We will be doing it, it's just,
Well, we've offered.
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's been on.
That's good. Keep us front and center.
Probably a great idea. The next is the alcohol, gaming, fuel, and tobacco proposed alcohol regulation changes. Did anyone see anything that they felt needed to,
Overdue.
I thought that at a previous meeting that we'd already endorsed the document that the province was recommending. We've already done that.
I thought so.
Well, wasn't it different though? Wasn't it a couple dry? I thought it was a different document than this.
yeah, the document's a little different.
Well, what this is, and it came from the UNSM, but it's a document that was produced by the Nova Scotia Health Authority.
So that's why it's different.
It's different because of that, but we've already endorsed the provincial strategy. So we're on record for endorsing that already.
Okay, well, this was different, that's why I had it brought forward. So, we can say that we've already endorsed the original.
Yeah, we had a discussion on it, and we were okay with it.
Overdue.
Like I said, this one a little different. The next is the municipality of Colchester. They are asking for a letter in support of they bought the Pallister property and ripped down the building. And they are wanting to put a gateway concept. And they were wondering if you would like to send a letter of support for this. I was just going to say, the mayor spoke to me about this. It really sounds like a great idea, what they're looking at up there, because of the government pulling out and then trying to do it with municipalities. Didn't you?
Yeah, I support this. I think it's a good idea, and we should treat it as the Bay of Fundy is a regional entity, and that they're trying to promote it as a gateway to the region. So that could still have promotional value to us down here. So
That's what Bob said.
so I think I'd make a motion that we write a letter of support.
Second.
Any other discussion?
Did they mention anything about what they would plan to do with that property, or are they just going to promote it?
No, they're going to build on it. They're
What
going to
the-
have different stakeholders. And, as people come in, it will be, well, they want people to come in and stop in and, like a tourist bureau, everything inside, different facilities happen with it. Be a mixture of a lot of things, and they want to promote the whole way of life.
Nice to see them get their act together and have some vision. I like seeing people grabbing the horns. So yeah,
The Pallister, had been sitting vacant for a long time.
Certainly a good location. That's
It's
kind
an
of
excellent
perfect
location.
I'm
location.
not really familiar with that exact area.
The Pallister, when you're coming from Digby up through, McDonald's is on the right. Well, the Pallister was all on the left.
That brick building?
No, it was an old white.
Motel.
It was a motel and restaurant.
And it had the food was fabulous.
Yeah.
I ate there many times. And
say you're coming from New Brunswick, coming into Truro, you know where
And
you
you're
come
on the
off
right
at.
side.
Yep.
Or right there on the right-hand side, coming down around that curve, you're coming into Truro, on the right-hand side,
I lived in Truro. Okay, I know exactly where you're
there
talking.
was a motel and complex there.
Yeah, okay.
There's
Yes.
also a Pallister and Falbridge.
So before you cross the river, no mistakes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. The next is the Chief Administrator's Officer's Report, the meeting reminders. November the 23rd was the day, and apparently the Digby Annapolis Development Corp had a meeting.
I'm going to be talking a little bit.
Yeah, I wasn't, I gave my notes. Yes.
November 24th at 1 o'clock, there is the DDA meeting, remember that's from 1 to 4. I believe from 1 to 3.
Tomorrow, yeah.
24, right? Well, yeah. November 25th at 4:30, Shared Services Committee with Calpine and Tudor. November the 30th, 4:30, bylaw and policy, to all of us. December the 7th, there is no meeting. December the 14th at 4:30 is committee of the whole. December the 15th is the joint RCMP advisory board. December 21st and 28th, there's no meeting. January 4th, there's no meeting. January the 11th is committee of the whole at 4:30. January 18th is bylaw and policy. January 25th is council. Any questions or concerns? Everyone is comfortable?
Looks
Okay.
good.
Now, the next is update on action items. Does anyone have any questions? Hearing none. Update on capital projects. Is there any questions?
I have an update on the EV car charging stations.
Oh, okay.
Apparently, Terry received an email this week from David Stevenson, he was the one that was going to be receiving funding for the free EV stations. He's not going to be receiving that funding now. So.
That's not going to work out.
So the Sun Country Highway undertook to provide additional EV charging stations in all parts of Canada, but they were advised that they would not be receiving funding this time.
Does that put us on hold?
Yep.
Well, certainly council has to have a discussion now on how we want to go forward with it. Terry's still working with Superstore. He, with regard to the possibility of having one of the fast charging stations there. So we're just waiting to hear back on whether or not Superstore will be funding the equipment, because that's quite a bit more expensive. And then we would go forward with just the electrical that's required. So that may be what we'll be doing this year, and then just wait, and maybe there'll be another year when there'll be funding.
Plug forward then.
Next is the update on special projects or initiatives. Any questions? Now, under the decision direction, approval of the October 2015 payables, in the amount of $796,102.65.
So moved.
Is there a seconder? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. The next is the income and expense report of October 2015. Was there any questions or concerns? Okay. The next was correspondence or information items, community conversion, conversations on immigration. Was there any questions on that? Okay. The next is the standing committees on council recommendations for the bylaw and policy. One, to approve the recommendation that the request to have the Gilbert's Cove Road and Gilbert's Cove, Weymouth Mills, Siskiyou Falls changed to Mallet Road and Gilbert's Cove Road. Josephville and Fourth Lake Road, Siskiyou Grand Lake changed to Fourth Lake Road to be sent to the Department of Transportation for approval. Is there anyone going to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Any discussion?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. Number 2, to approve the recommendation to support the Digby Scarlet Queen in the amount of $3,000 for participation in the Apple Blossom Festival Leadership Competition. So moved. Is there a seconder?
Seconded.
Any discussion?
I'm a little, in retrospect, I know I voted for it in the committee of the whole, but in retrospect, I had some reservations on the $3,000. I know that we still have to hear back from the town, is that correct?
No.
For sharing?
I had approached, well, aside from the decision that council was looking at, I had approached the town to see if they would be willing to cost share. And they won't be looking at that until their council meeting in December.
Should we wait, but they need an answer?
No, we need to answer.
So they weren't totally, they weren't a flat no, they said they.
Well, I just took it to Tom, the CAO, and he said he can take it to council. That's all he can do.
Yeah.
That's for now. We'll agree.
So this is, at this point, it's just a one-off and see how the value for money
Yeah,
goes.
you can look at it next year as well. It's done. Nothing's been done. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded?
I'd.
Are you naming it?
No, no.
Oh,
You gave me a funny look, though.
No, I didn't hear you. That's
Oh,
why.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
I think we all got colds. It's like, don't hear anything.
You color scare me.
Yeah, I like things Tuesday.
Motion carried. The next is to approve the recommendation that Terry Thibodeau begin negotiations with RESL for the purchase of the 50-kilowatt turbine.
Oh, can I ask? I thought that was bigger than 50 kilowatts.
It is.
Yes. So that's
50 kilowatt is the one that the new one that we would purchase through our ComFed.
That's
This
not-
is a point,
That's not
8.
through our ESL.
no,
This
no,
is
no.
This is different.
Yeah, so maybe the,
That 50 kilowatts is the wrong number.
yeah, we can just eliminate that amount.
Take that
You're right.
right out of there. and Just say purchase of
Of
turbine.
the
Of the
turbine.
existing turbine.
Take out the amount because I'm not 100% sure, but I thought it was a 600 kV.
Yeah,
did
I think,
too.
yeah.
So I'll make the motion that we give Terry Thibodeau the authority to enter into negotiations with RESL.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. Next, there is no committee as a whole recommendations. So after that, we will go to the advisory committee reports update. The Digby Source Water Protection Advisory Committee, Councilor Adams. Heritage Advisory Committee, Warden Gregory, Councilor Adams. Government, conference room. Planning Advisory Committee, Warden Gregory, Councilor Adams, and two that we have not met. Though we have done one reading.
We've done both readings, and the bylaw has been submitted to the province. We're just waiting on their approval.
Joint RCMP Advisory Board, that meeting is coming up.
Will the report be tabled at that meeting? When is the RCMP report coming out? The one that we had done a couple of years ago that they're working on?
Well, that's not ready yet.
Oh, it's not ready yet?
No,
Oh, I
it's
thought
soon.
it was.
It's
Oh,
close.
super
I think they
curious
want
about
to,
it.
no, I think they want to meet with councils before the
They-
report's finalized.
Okay, awesome.
Sylvia Brassen Hughes told us that it was still being worked on.
Still being worked on, got it.
Remo Advisory Committee, Warden Gregory, Deputy Warden McCallum.
There hasn't been a meeting since last council.
So we did get
You got an advisory on the rain. Yeah.
Western Regional Housing Authority, we have not heard. Under the Regional Joint Committees, Canada Legacy Society, we have not had a meeting, there's supposed to be one coming up, and they had thought in November, but there's been nothing. November is nearly over. Another week. Digby Area Affordable and
next meeting is 9:30 on the 1st, and I believe we'll be talking a bit about making an actual business plan going forward tomorrow, so that should be interesting. We have the regular meeting going over process mapping, 9:30 to 10:30, then 10:30 we're having a municipal expert come in and maybe give us some advice. I believe that's the
Good night.
Not exciting enough. That's it, man. I'm just leaving.
Couldn't say
Next is
anything.
Digby Annapolis Development Corporation, Deputy Warden of Calpine, Councilor Tudor.
Had a meeting today, this morning actually here. And we're going to meet again in March, because we meet quarterly. We had a meeting today, and the main thing of the meeting was to talk about the future of the DADC, like, keep it going, and I feel personally that it's a good mechanism to have. If there's ever a partnership that we want to do with Annapolis, we have the way to do it without having to start a new entity or anything like that. So I think it's viable to keep going. So, but in saying that, we have no assets left. We sold the properties that we owned, so we do have money in the bank. So today we made a motion to disperse some of the funds back to both councils, and also to keep some money in DADC in case a project does come up, so that we have it there. So we have in the ballpark of around $300,000 in the account, so from the sales of the property. So we're going to keep $100,000 and give back approximately $100,000 each council. So.
Good idea.
Yeah, well, I felt it was good to do that because DADC doesn't need to be sitting on that money. And basically what it is, it's paying back an accounts receivable to us from the monies that was lent when we first built the call center building, or made the renovations to it.
Still keeps a pan in the fire, though, so we can react quickly to any opportunities that might arise.
Well, if a project came up or something happened that we really wanted to jump into right away, the money's there to do it. You don't have to worry about budgeting for it because you've got some set aside. We'd still have to come to council and talk to council about it, but we would still have the resources to do it.
Did Annapolis have any suggestions for potential partnerships that might be worthwhile? Is there anything on the agenda?
No.
Pardon?
You weren't at the meeting.
No, not yet. Like today, what I'd asked Linda if Terry could come in and do an update to Annapolis County Council on the PACE program, because if the more people are on the PACE program, I thought maybe just because of efficiencies, we might be able to get a cheaper cost for us. We don't know that yet, but so just basically let them know about that program. Because down in Bridgewater, I think Bridgewater and Lunenburg are kind of doing things together. So if ourselves and the town of Digby and Clare and Annapolis were able to do something, we might be able to administer it better. I don't know. But at least we made them aware of it. And as far as other projects right now, no, there's nothing really standing right up there. I just mentioned too that, and I don't know if it's going to happen, but if, say, for example, refugees were to come to Cornwallis, both councils may be asked to play a role of some type, and if we were asked to play that role, we could maybe do it through the DADC. I don't know. It's just a thought. So that was the gist of the meeting.
Okay. The next is the Digby Area Learning Association, Councilor Manzer.
Yeah, the reports are there from September, October, whatever, I guess, and we have a meeting this Wednesday, so it's always usually right after our council meeting. We have and it's a whole month before you go there. They are doing a book giveaway, up to about 3,000 books worth maybe $30,000 value, and I think that I'm not sure about the date, but it was either tomorrow or the next day. You could check the if you wanted to. Check the website, but they are free giveaway. So.
The Dallas website?
Yep. So they had done one last spring, and they wanted to do another one just before Christmas for anybody that wanted maybe to pick up Christmas presents or books for kids for Christmas. And their year ending, they had a surplus, so they were in pretty good financial shape.
The giveaway is the 25th from 4 to 7 p.m.
Okay, thank you. I knew it was coming up short, quickly. 25th, that's Wednesday.
Thank you. Okay, the next is the Digby Area Recreation Commission, Board of Gregory, Councilor Vanzer. The October minutes and November reports are there. The only new thing that I want to mention, we had a ammonia, I want to get it right, ammonia,
Shade pneumonia.
leak. There was 4x4 planks, so there was only about 20 people in the building, there was no problem. They got everybody out, and then shut everything down, waiting for the person to come. And then the person went back, and then there was another problem, but it had nothing to do with a seal or something inside they had to fix. So, they said, everything would be up and running, or it was up and running by Friday. So,
When did that happen?
in the compressor room.
Compressor.
Thursday night,
Thursday night.
Thursday
till
night.
9 o'clock at night.
Oh, yeah.
Probably.
9 o'clock? Okay, good, my hockey game got canceled. I was supposed to be there, but I wasn't.
Oh, well, then you didn't miss a thing.
That's the thing.
But that was really the only new thing that I had, when we had to report. Anything else? Would you like to bring
I
forward?
don't think so.
That is, coming right along. Lots of volunteers.
It's either Ed and Claire Shopper this week, or last week.
Okay.
They're ad for
And,
volunteers. It was an ad for volunteers.
So they are looking for more volunteers. But, they're pleased with what's happening. They had a curler down to meet.
Randy
Andy
Furby.
Furby?
Randy Furby.
When I looked at the name, I thought, I wonder if that's supposed to be a toy.
He's no toy.
I remember Furbies vaguely.
It's supposed to be
Like a
serious,
bird or
it's supposed to be
something.
serious here.
It's April. I don't have it right on me. Actually, I do it for that. I can do this too. Senior curling, March 28th to April 2nd. 3rd, sorry, April 3rd. Oh, I'm so proud of myself. You see how fast that happened?
Sorry about me.
Well, for me, that's wonders. The next is the Digby Area Tourism Association, Councilor Manzer.
Yes, we had a meeting here a couple of weeks ago, and they were wondering whether the municipality would be willing to do the same as they did last year for the Saltscapes thing with Rob doing his thing with, organization, getting things set up, getting the booth, organized or whatever. So, I said I would bring it to council and see, and we can discuss it at a bylaw policy or committee of the whole meeting or whatever. Just that they would like,
If they got a letter or anything?
I can get them to send you one. We have a meeting on Thursday, so we'll get them
That I would,
Yeah,
Send a
something
letter.
like that, yeah.
requesting that. Their chair resigned, so Greg Turner is temporarily filling in as vice chair. He's filling in for that. Their VIC, or at the visitor center, their numbers were up this year for downtown, probably because the other one was closed. But they said they noticed like an hour and a half or whatever after the Nova Star arrived in Yarmouth, there would be a big influx of it would all of a sudden get busy, right? And then shortly after the St. John boat get in, there would be another big influx of visitors. So they did notice a change in the morning, especially from the Nova Star. Increased activity. I guess that's what it is.
okay. The next is the Digby Development Agency, Warden Gregory, Deputy Warden Calpine. The next is the Digby Harbor Port Association. We just had a meeting. Actually, everything was going well. We are starting a committee to look at planning for the next few years and where we should go, what we should do for expansion, stay the same. What is it that we need to do? What is best for the fishermen? What is best for our harbor? Because our harbor is at, our port harbor, port is at capacity, and we're always running over capacity. So we have to look at that and what would be the best thing to do. That was a lot of what we discussed, as well as the goals, and, making sure everything's going well. Everything has actually been going very well at the wharf. With the lobstering that has been taking place, the lobster truck, that type of thing, and so they've been really busy. That's about it.
It's a good problem to have if you're going to have a problem over capacity, rather than, underutilized and falling down.
We've come a long way.
Yeah.
And, everyone's at the board meeting.
So, our people are allowed down on the wharf, right? Past the gate, you can only
You can
walk
only walk.
past the gate.
Yes, but unless it's really busy, after 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you can drive down. And Saturdays and Sundays, unless it's busy, you can drive down.
So is there a sign there that says anything with that regard to, or is it just kind of
There's a
word of
person
mouth?
there. There's a person there.
There's a person there.
Oh, yeah, at all times. So I can't tell you that we have a sign, but we do have a human.
Okay. So after 4. After 4.
I don't mean that.
No, I like it.
No, it's not, that's, somebody was asking at data, they were doing up a map of the area, whatever, and one of the roads showed the wharf as part of an extension of a road, and somebody mentioned, well, no, it's not, because you don't have access to it. Somebody else said, well, yes, you do have access sometimes, and so they were just kind of,
Well, you can tell
Yeah.
them, you always have access to walking.
yeah. After 4 p.m. if it's not busy.
If it's busy, like if there's certain times of the year it gets busier.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
They will be open, or they will be closed 8 o'clock or even 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's according to the movement of the fishermen.
Yeah. And then on weekends, you said it was open?
It's open usually.
Usually the full day?
Yeah, it's open. It's only unless, something is going on.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay? So, I thought it was a productive meeting. Next is the Digby Library Committee.
Meeting.
Digby Municipal Fire Association. Highway 1 Task Force, no meeting.
No meeting,
Oh,
I did have an email from the department saying that they don't think the design will be finalized until January.
Hearing anything about the Marshalltown overpass?
That's the design.
Okay.
So we'll have a meeting as soon as they're ready.
Thanks, guys, by the way.
The next is the King's Transit Authority, Warden Gregory. We have the October newsletter. We have a meeting on Wednesday at 5. That's why I will not be here.
King Transit.
Yeah. The biggest thing is there's been a revamping, as I mentioned last month. And there's been changes to job descriptions and jobs and staff rollover changes because of it.
Is the administration similar to what it has been in the past?
It's different. The manager's still the same.
Okay, he's good to have, he seems to be a good rapport.
He is still there.
Okay.
Any questions?
See, there's a decrease as of September 30th, there's a decrease in ridership.
Our
throughout the
numbers
whole-
are dropping down, they don't know why. But the numbers were dropping down also in Annapolis. So it was not just, and they said when you compare it, they had dropped.
17%.
And then stop going when it closes?
But other years would be, it's not happening other years and happened this year.
Yeah, this
Something's
is,
up.
yeah, this is a drop from this time last year,
Or other
September
years they
to
still carpool,
September.
and now they're more using the bus more.
Well, how much percentage?
17%.
What else would it maybe impacted on
Price of gas is down.
that? Yeah. Yeah, people maybe, carpooling instead. Who knows?
September, I mean, the students have gone back to school.
Yeah, that too, yeah.
Yeah, but if it's not
I
that
don't-
way other years, then there's something different about this year.
I don't recall.
Other years, you have students going back to school too, or whatever.
I
If
don't
it's
rec-
not a decrease other
I think
years.
it has its ups and downs. We have been doing pretty well.
Yeah.
but suddenly we
Well,
dropped down.
maybe just natural flow.
But they,
Yeah, what you said.
Stephen is keeping a watch on it for us as well.
Yeah, I don't recall the drops like Mr. Manzer in the previous years like that being so significant.
We've had drops before that have been significant. Then they bounce off and,
Goes with the flow.
yeah.
Maybe some.
Oh, yeah. Well, we don't want it to
Yeah.
keep dropping.
Yeah.
So, I do plan on going on the bus again before Christmas, just for an afternoon. just-
Christmas rush, yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go on the bus for Christmas.
Yeah, your bus ride was a hit, it was in the paper and all.
Yeah, and then our Prime Minister Trudeau talking to me.
That's right, you got the idea from you.
Oh, isn't it?
ridership
And
goes down.
Oh, the ridership went down too, that's right. They're worried they're gonna run into the warden.
Yeah, they're worried that they're going to have to face a wrath.
But it was funny that here it was, like 2 weeks later, the Prime Minister's going on the bus for a bus ride.
And I'm making fun of Peter Mansbridge for being a bus snob. That was
Yeah.
amusing. I like that. Made me happy.
Okay, the next is open spaces, Councilor Manzer and Tudor.
Yes, we had a meeting last week, and we reviewed 2 more applications for the $1,000 grant for maintenance and stuff like that. Reviewed and agreed,
Did the
Send
$1,000
them the money?
Yeah.
We're also looking at action items from the plan, so there's action items listed in the plan, so we're starting to look at some of those. And we're looking at two potential properties that may come into acquisition.
Oh, okay.
Is that it?
Yep.
Highlights?
Yeah, trying to maybe get it to a point where some things are a little more codified and policy-based, so we're trying to, review the open spaces document, maybe to the idea of developing just that. Make it a little more official. Put in the bones, maybe. Put some flesh on the bones, there we go.
Okay. Senior Safety Committee, Councilor Tudor, Deputy Warden McAlpine. Who's chair now? Oh, okay, so who wants to speak?
Your deputy.
We haven't done a meeting.
Yeah, well, yeah, we haven't had a meeting.
Okay. Shared Services Committee, Deputy Warden McAlpine, Councilors Abbott and Tudor.
We have a meeting this week.
Yeah, Wednesday.
Francis Leclerc, Councilor Manzer, May minutes, October Management Report, October President Report.
Yes, the new manager's working out well, and they have now moved, or are getting ready to move into their new offices at the old courthouse. Some of those became available there, and they were informed by the Fire Council Management, CAO, whatever. So they they were offered those couple of rooms there for no cost or charge. So they've been putting some flooring down, doing some painting, remodeling a little bit, and ready to move in, I think, around the 1st of December.
Cool.
They'll be out of Clarendon's house.
That would be a change.
Was it out of his house?
Well,
before?
It's been in his house.
Yeah, well, and he was manager, and he lived right, so
Oh,
it
that
only-
makes sense.
It only made sense to kind of have it right there. But now, it's moved.
Time to move.
Yeah.
Highview Terrace, 9 minutes, Counselor Manzer.
Let me see. In the fall they put out an RFP for insurance. No, for auditors, and I think they only had one response back, but they ended up saving $4,000.
Hey.
So they came in 4,000 less than what they had charged the year. It was, I think, Grant Thornton, the same people that had been doing it, but so they put in a bid, and it was less than what they had charged the year before. And I think that's the big item for the day. And Mr. Saunier has his art showing or photographic showing. I think it is. Let me see.
November 24th.
I think it's tomorrow. Yeah. If anybody would like to go down and visit and maybe purchase some photographs, 2 to 4 in the afternoon.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. Next is Upper Clemens Park, Counselor Adams.
We didn't have a meeting this month because Neil had some surgery and we have to pull meetings up to it, so we don't meet in December, so the one meeting is in January.
Okay. Waste check, Warden Gregory and Deputy Warden McAlpine, October minutes, reports, November meeting notes.
Talking for years. How'd they get past the laws? I thought there was environmental. Okay. Are you sure maybe we can just keep throwing it in dumps and leaving it there instead? That seems sometimes you think that's what people were playing for the future.
the next is the Western Counties Regional Library Deputy Warden McAlpine.
Have a meeting scheduled for December 10th. That's the last council meeting. I did attend on Saturday, library association and social board meeting in Borough. And I think one of the biggest ones there was discussing the fact that the cost of work there was not being Franconia. And I think I mentioned this before that they've done that and everything is discussed close to the secret. They're not allowed to talk to anybody about it, but this document is what we can sort of use it, you know? Like, there was a working committee on that, one of the last meetings. And, but a lot of stuff is discussed. And, the fact is, our region is really sort of the idea of our region being big ahead.
Somebody from our region,
Yes. But they've been all on the they've been up with stuff, so.
But how can they have a thing in your, part of your, it's your committee? It's your working committee, isn't it?
It's a working committee that's the problem because, as we did it, the problem is people that form the committee, people who are legal funding from them, and the things that they put into it. So what happens is, whenever you change funding for the province, which is, you put them in these sidetracks. This is how you get portions of the province. So, just to give you an example of why it came to light, is because, the money that we propose has a really dramatic impact on state revenue. And, the number that we sit on the table is certain awful amount of cost on the bill, because what the impact will be, and it's a lot of money. So, anyway, on Saturday, we were told that there was going to be a small meeting with the chairs and the CEOs of all the different regional libraries and developments to have a discussion on it after they've taken it to the lead, which I don't agree with, because normally, take a document to a minister for approval, that's it. That's the way I've always understood it.
Must have been hard to
Change it.
force back once it's been stolen.
Yeah, so, but to be honest, I feel that if they try to go forward with this, then we're gonna have to, try to talk to our organization and ask people to support our region, and that's what we've made an impact on.
Any idea how big ahead, Jimmy, like any ballpark?
They don't have that on the state, they haven't been privy to it, so.
Yeah.
I think that, there's 3 regions in the province that would have to make it. And I don't even know what how they come up with funding for it. And that's, I guess my problem with the whole thing is the fact that they should have came back to the different library boards or at least the L-band and let us know what options they were providing and rationality on it. And none of that stuff. So,
Hard to argue
Yeah.
against something like that.
Arguing for or against.
we gotta wait till the
After the fact. Doesn't seem too efficient.
Okay, thank you. The next is the Western Regional Enterprise Network Liaison and Oversight Committee Deputy Warden McAlpine.
There isn't a meeting that's on December the, week on December the 9th, they're having a public session. Try to talk about, talk about, and, other than that, we do not meet, so the oversight committee meets a couple times.
Do you review the province, review how it's going, what's happening, how far are they along?
we haven't yet, but there was discussion at one of our 60th annual general meeting, or the liaison committee, about having communications each to councils and reports.
All right, next is the Weymouth Doctor Recruiting Committee, Warden Gregory, Counselor Manzer. Biggest thing I would say is are looking at what we can do best. to
Our
find
senior-
a doctor. You know, negotiations are ongoing, and that is the way I want to leave it, except for on Sunday, there was Dr. Westwood's retirement, which Counselor Manzer and Counselor Adams attended, as well as our CAO, Linda Frazier. Dr. Westby did receive a Buddha, and as he said on the stage,
what?
it was a Buddha. It was carved through a power saw. It was beautiful, and he wanted to make sure everyone knew that he was not changing religion. He was still staying Christian, but to him it meant peace, tranquility, and it was going to go into his garden.
It was a medicine Buddha, the size of a lazy boy chair. It was
Really?
huge. Yeah.
Oh, really?
You lay on it?
No, you just kind of admire it.
Oh,
It said the size of a lazy boy. not-
okay.
It was
You
very-
lay in the arms of
She
Buddha.
does,
That'd be kind of
yeah,
awesome.
Tracy Dugas, the artist. Tracy.
So-
Incredible, she does.
I will say that Dr. Randall did speak to me personally after, for his comments to our committee, that I will bring forward at that time. He did say he wished Dr. West did well, and he got very emotional when he was
Choked up.
talking, and he said, he told me he didn't plan on being emotional. Dr. Leahy also spoke, and she did an excellent job. Ronnie, the warden from Clare, was there, and he gave Dr. Westby or not he, the council gave him a quart of whiskey.
Scotch. Nice bottle of scotch.
So,
See, they don't have no silly rules about that. They can
So
do
was,
things like that.
was one of those doctors representing Southwest Health, or just they're on their own?
no,
They're
Dr.
friends.
Leahy would be Southwest Health. But she was in charge before, so she was there and did an excellent job. We helped give part of the Buddha, that was our contribution as well as towards food and things. Which was, like I said, I just wanted to comment, because I was around quite a few of the Weymouth Doctor recruiting, and that was in that,
Yeah.
you know, there was a lot of people that.
Wow, are you serious?
Amazing.
Unbelievable. Wow. That's impressive. So certainly that must make you feel awfully good in your retirement, seeing everybody come out like that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Always get ready for a funny story.
So, we will probably not be having a meeting until about January.
Unless one's needed, if something
If
comes
one
up.
meeting
yeah.
before, we'll have
Boom.
something come up.
Wouldn't that be nice? Hopefully there'll be one next week.
We'll be glad to have a
And,
meeting.
Now, we'll go to council district reports. I'm going to start with Councilor Evans. Did you want to talk about the Nova Scotia Power meeting? Yeah, I'm going to let you do that one.
they automatically send it to you?
No, no, no. They have to apply.
What I would like is this team takes care of managing subcontractors to have the upgrades completed at no cost to you. So they will do the work at no cost to the homeowner. And I know that we're getting quite up into the pace, or we're looking at the pace thing. My concern about that is still the cost of people to have the work done and tie into their tax. Whereas this program seems to be a lot better and it's just a low amount.
Just
A
get
lot
to the low.
Okay, the other program that we're coming up with is, heat pumps. We can lease heat pumps from, car, if you want to buy, you can also order that. And, sometimes the first one, I would,
Oh, the heat pump, the warms the houses, and the, oh, you gotta go.
you go ahead and I'll tell you what I know.
Anyway, it was a very informative meeting. We've been there for awareness, and then the one in Yarmouth had to be also canceled, but this worked out because we were already there, and it wasn't extra. Did you see what the other one? Yes. Yes. Yes, it was vegetation. And they're saying right now, if it's on your property, it's your job to deal with it, but they are going to be looking at, again, vegetation, they have to take down a tree, and possibility it's a senior, they're going to try to work something out, manageable, but it's called a vegetation project, because they're trying to keep power going, because what puts the power out is usually trees going down the lines. That is the most common thing that puts the power out.
I was also workshop was about an hour and a half, and I put that in the stuff. That's when the power down the state. It almost felt like they were really trying hard to change their image. And it takes a long time before people are going to trust the power, or, accept that they're changing and they're doing a little bit better.
And the other,
Our bills keep going up.
the other thing they're going to be doing, or they're trying to do, is they'll be contacting hospitals, they'll be talking different places on how they can find out who is on a necessary power source for like equipment such as oxygen, such as sleep apnea machines, different, machines. Because then they want the person to contact them, because they're not allowed to go look for them. They call them, they will have a direct line, they will talk directly to a person, they won't be going 1, 2, 3, 4. They will tell them what they need, they will call them back, they will do the whole 9 yards with them. That's another program that they're putting out that they are in the process of doing now, because they believe in safety, emergencies, what has to be done in an emergency, because hospitals can't take all these people in either. And yet our comfort stations can't handle them either. So it's got to be dealt with in a safe, manageable way. So because of confidentiality, they have to do it, say, will you please tell them about this, and ask them to contact us. If they don't contact, there's nothing Nova Scotia Power can do. And the other thing Nova Scotia Power kept saying the whole evening is our organization. It was no longer our business, it was our organization. We're here, yes, we're going to be using so much of our monies now that would have gone to the stockholders. They're going to be using a little bit of that money for.
So they're not going to call them stockholders, they're going to call them concerned friends?
No, they're still stockholders, but. I was impressed at that meeting. I really was. I thought, I think they're really starting to try to change their image and do more.
Oh, they have brutal reputations, it's brutal.
And, you know, they're talking about that they know that they need to have linesmen, they need to have people on the ground. You know, they weren't dodging that bullet. And Councillor Hemsley, oh my God, he had no problem pulling the punches of what he wanted to know.
He's from Napa,
So what, in the home warming thing, what things are they going to do?
Looking at like windows,
Window.
insulation, they gave us these when they were little.
Yeah, I have a stack of them.
Yeah, so anyway, I thought, the other thing
They're
I
really
thought
trying to
too is
promote that.
before it had to have, let's say, 50 houses without power or 100, before you could call in and find out how long before. Now there's one house for one house.
If your power is off,
Yeah.
they will tell you.
One, you still call in.
Jeez, I thought they
Well, we did anyway. We always did.
Yeah, I always thought
Yeah,
that
but
was
often, if it wasn't a group of 50, they couldn't tell you.
Oh, okay.
But now it's going to be.
Must have always been a big group because every time we've called, we've always got a
Yeah.
response.
That's what they were saying. If before, if it wasn't 50, you couldn't find out. Well, it wouldn't take, you know, wait a minute, power goes off.
Yeah,
It's more than
the
50.
area goes off as more
Yeah.
than 50.
Okay. Councilor Manzik.
Attended the week-long UNSM in Halifax. Also the community meeting at the Weymouth School for the doctor recruitment. Well attended, probably 300 people. Remembrance Day ceremony at the Legion. Festival of Trees Friday night, and the open house for Dr. Westby on Sunday.
Very good. Councilor?
The wood bank's been ripping along. I've had a couple, wood bank, doing my wood. It's been really busy, of course, this time of year it would be. There's seems to be a bit of a shortage as far as wood delivery services for someplace. Some people are getting delivery dates January and February and stuff like that. So also been getting a little help from my community and my friends and stuff like that. The food bank also, I've had a few more people. It never ceases to amaze me. They never ask themselves. It's always somebody worried about somebody else. And so you just sort of show up. That seems to be how it works that way. And sometimes I'm quite surprised. But I also passed out a lot of forums from the province for disabilities and autism, and with the feds too for disability and help people with their taxes, things like that. I find that lately a lot of stuff going on in regards to just making sure the MLA's information is getting out, the programs that people know about them. So, if you live in the woods with no power, you don't learn about a lot of these things. Some people. Oh, what should we give him?
Okay.
I'm okay.
Deputy Warden.
what? Not Truro?
Library board.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay. Lieutenant May, the same thing as you guys had, but I will say, on Remembrance Day, my mother was a Silver Cross mother.
Really?
I'm really proud of that. Even though I always attended, that is a must. I think, they laid down their lives for us, and had a lot of problems, folks for a lot of things like that. I will also comment that Councilor Adams and I attended the cultural awareness in Halifax on the 17th, and it was 3 hours. Well, yeah, 3 hours. And on it, she talked about cultures and how, what happens when people come, why people, we tend to say things that we think are fine, but they're not taken the way we are taking them. She also talked about stereotyping and how we tend to stereotype just because. There was a lot of discussion on the refugees that are coming and what's happening. At that meeting, there was a minister, there was St. Amherst council, I think he was a council. There was us, there was adoption agencies, because I have to deal with parents who are adopting foreign children. So, it was, it was really interesting, but what got me, I felt that I'd like to see her come down and do 1 or 2 courses. Like, it's an all-day one, but I thought it should, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, by town council, Clare council, or, 2 sessions. I think it'd be worthwhile. Yes, we have to pay for her mileage, her hotel, if she stays overnight, her meals, and whatever the wages are. We're not talking, yeah, and bring Jill in and the welcoming. I just felt she had so much to bring that it would, instead of all, like we just said, it's crazy for us all to go up there when we could bring her down, and I think even our staff, any of the staff that could be available, it is so worthwhile. And they're all talking about a third one, Bear River.
We should invite all the rude guys on Facebook too.
But
Stick 'em all on
I
one
think a
side,
lot of
force them to
this
come.
is stuff you don't even think about.
One side is an iceberg. We're going to talk about the iceberg. Because it is the problem, things that we think about, housing, jobs, medical, clothing, food. Bottom of the iceberg. And so many other things that we probably don't even think about.
But just as important.
Challenges for, people that are coming from other countries.
Yeah, we gotta
Great
be on the ball with this.
And for us, for example, when we have a problem, who would we call?
Depending on what
Crime
problem it is.
problem, crime problem.
Crime, police, I guess.
All right. Most of those people come from other countries. You would never call the police. But the
Yeah, that's
police
right.
of
They're,
your thing.
they're more dangerous than anybody.
Right.
That's right.
I mean, things that, she mentioned, that you gotta remember that culture has to learn that police are safe. We also have to think of where they're coming from.
Politicians are scary too in a lot of them countries. Real scary.
So I'll tell them a story that I told you.
Okay.
My brother's involved in refugees in Ottawa, where he's been running several meetings, he told me the story. His family had come to Ottawa, and it was starting to get colder, and so they knew that we weren't buying some more clothing, so we got brand new snowsuits for the people that needed them. They sent them off to school, new snowsuits, and the kids were all really proud of the snowsuits and everything like that. And Don came, and the teacher said, okay, Dad, take the snowsuits off now, because you're inside.
told them they had to have clothes on.
And also in China, for example, even wealthy cities, central heating, it would be -2 out. It was -2 in. A lot of buildings, and this was a city with wealth. It was just they didn't bother. So I can see how something like that could happen.
That's like a very subtle thing that you wouldn't think.
So what I'm wondering of is if we could get our CAO or deputy CAO, whatever Linda appoints, to look at, to see if we could bring her down, like give her the information, find out the cost, feel if it's worthwhile.
Can we make it for the public instead of just inviting groups?
Well, that will be up to council.
I would be into that.
But what I'm thinking about is at least, we could do 2 3-hour sessions, like a 9 to 12 and a 1 to 4, and then she could get on the road, or if it's miserable weather, pay drive.
Yeah, this is something we got to maybe show some leadership in. I think just maybe spend a little, spend some political capital on this.
Maybe you could have one set aside for invited, like, for councils and stuff. in the morning,
Community
and then
leaders.
have the other one open to whatever in the afternoon. Because you do want, if you just open both up, then maybe you don't get the people.
So would someone like to make a motion that I get Linda to investigate?
So moved.
Seconded
Cultural
joyfully. First, second.
Second.
awareness workshop to be.
Awareness pork chop? My hearing's.
Awareness workshop.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. Now there's a couple more things, guys. I want to remind you that you've been invited to attend the upcoming Design Community. That's on Conversations to Build Capacity on December the 2nd, 2014. If anyone's interested, I'm going to send you the email on it. But it's December the 2nd, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m.
Second
Anyway, we keep getting invited.
to 8:30 p.m. And what is this?
Defining Community Conversations to Build Capacity. I'll send it out.
Okay, so
Yeah, but I just wanted to say that. The other thing I wanted to remind you about is your coastline reports are due this week, please.
By Friday, Thursday, Friday.
And the staff party is this Friday, or Saturday.
my apologies. I'll be home with the babies.
We're allowed to be home with the baby.
Thanks.
There's 44 attending, so this was the number.
Sorry, everybody. It is hard for me to get up and back. The mainland. Oh, I'm laying in bed upset all night.
The only other thing I wanted to comment on was, they had a epilepsy foundation meeting, or fundraiser that I attended, on the building of awareness with epilepsy, and it was on musical, and it was fabulous. It was a great evening. I will be sending under new business, they're asking us if on March 26th, so around our council meeting, if we would wear a ribbon for epilepsy on that day. Because there's the Purple Ribbon campaign, we asked to wear a ribbon as well.